The Trailblazers conclave, I will not be wrong if I say, has become India's best sports conclave now in the last 3 years. And it will only be fair if I give credit where due. It was Mr. Narendran who actually made it possible for us. I remember that phone call when I said, sir, I want to do something. And he said, not cricket. I said, no. And he said, tell me. I said, Olympics, Paralympics, everything, including women's cricket. He said, what do you want to do? I said, conclaves and do it. That's how it actually happened in one Zoom call, and I'm not exaggerating. Today, 3 years down the line, we are into number 4. This year, it's 3 days plus, 35 plus athletes. You made it possible. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Maury. You're being very generous.
No, that's how exactly it happened. I didn't exaggerate on this one.
Yeah.
But now that's it's become a brand. It's become a brand. What is your expectation from the conclave? Why did you back it? What was the thought that to bring together policy, sport, corporates, athletes all under one roof? What was your thought?
No, I think what really got me interested is what you just described. If it was another platform for cricket, I would have said there are many of them, and honestly, Tata Steel tries to support who don't get much support, in terms of sports, in terms of sections of people who need that support. And so when you talked about Paralympics, when you talked about women, etc., that really got me interested, because that's something I could justify to myself and to Tata Steel to say that, yes, this is something worth supporting. So, your ambition was good, your aspiration was good, and hence we supported it.
And that actually brings me to the Tata Steel vision for sports. If I see hockey, I see Paralympics, I see women, I see mountaineering, I see archery, I see everything. And and that's something that kind of appeals to me, having done Indian sport for the longest time, from the Olympic movement, Dorab Tata to now. Can you tell me a little bit more on that, the Tata Steel vision for sport?
So, Tata Steel is supported sports because it finds it a very impactful way to bridge with the community, to build a bridge with the community. So it's not just about corporate branding and building a brand name, which we can do many other things to build a brand name. Or we can support sports differently if it was the objective was just to build a brand name. So for us, sports is a way of helping the community, connecting with the community, giving opportunities to people who may not otherwise have those opportunities, working at the grassroots level, creating facilities in parts of the country which has not seen those facilities, and hopefully making an impact on lives, through the people that we touch. So it's to me a mix of the community work that we do, plus the fact that we are passionate about sports, and the fact that we want to support sports which traditionally don't get a lot of mileage or support.
And just to let viewers know, this is the launch of the Trailblazers 4th edition. With this interview, this 50 days to go, we are launching it with Mr. Narendran's interview, and the conclave will be between the 14th and the 17th of March, 1 week after the World Cup and ahead of the IPL. Once again, this year it's the biggest and best Trailblazers in terms of athletes. The whole number of people from across sport who will be here, and I would be expecting Mr. Narendran to also be there. But this is the launch. That's why we are doing this very special interview. Coming to Paralympic sport, again, I remember ahead of Paris when we spoke, and you had asked me what do you predict, how many medals, etc., etc., and I said 25, 4 more, 29 happened. Again, I see a lot of corporates who wake up post the event that now it's time. Paralympic sport has come of age. The difference with Tata Steel is Tata Steel does it from the grassroots. Ankita Bhakat was with me the other day, and she said, look, I've been with Tata Steel for 11 years. They bought me a bow. I didn't have a bow. So that for me is Tata Steel. That when Paralympics was not 29 medals, it was 1 medal. Tata Steel was still there. So thoughts?
No, again, exactly the same thing. If we were chasing branding, we would look for the successful athletes and get associated with them. Whereas for us, it's about the work that we do at the grassroots. If you look at Paralympics or if you look at para-athletes, I think there's so much to learn from them. To me, we take so many things for granted. And when you hear their stories and look at the resilience they've shown, the perseverance they've shown, despite the lack of support, they've achieved all that they've done, etc. So I think they certainly require more visibility, more support. And I must compliment you. I used to read all the newspaper reports which used to come, which you and your team used to write, because that coverage was not there before.
True.
And today I think as a country we celebrate it much more.
Yes.
Maybe because we've had success, it doesn't matter. But I think there's far more recognition, there's far more celebration of it. All of you played a great role, and I think it's very important to do that.
Yes, I mean, and that I think I now think the Prime Minister's, in it, Commonwealth Games, Olympic Games in 2036, if India does host, obviously we are talking Olympics, but we've got to be also talking Paralympics, because Paralympics will be part of it. It's all, and I see change. And I think so with the effort that all of us have been able to put in, we've seen that change. The athletes say that, इस बार नहीं बुलाएंगे, conclave में नहीं बुलाएंगे. In fact, so much so, Sumit Until told 3 world championships, right? More decorated than Neeraj. He actually said, Neeraj bhai ke sath ek session kariye, Olympics, Paralympics ek sath kariye.
Correct.
So he's coming this year again.
Wonderful.
So coming to your own thing, the one thing that I've seen in you, I mean, I've been doing the Tata Steel Kolkata World 25K for the longest time. You've been running. You are an active athlete. Does that kind of help your understanding of sport?
It helps me connect better. I obviously have maybe a greater respect for sports people and what they've achieved, because I know how hard it is to do well in sports. It's easy to watch on television and, give everyone advice on what they should be doing. But I think if you even played a bit of sports, you know how much of hard work it is, how much of discipline it is. And oftentimes, as I don't remember who, one famous sports person said, I worked hard for 10 years and I was called an overnight success, right? So that hard work is not visible, right? So I think if you played sports, and I've always played some sport or the other, not been exceptionally good at anything, but reasonably good to be able to play it, I've always appreciated it. So maybe that helps you respect them more. I don't say that if you don't play sport, you don't respect them, but I think it helps you respect them and their efforts much more. And Tata Steel has a rich history of supporting sports.
Yes.
So I'm just carrying forward that legacy. I'm not doing anything which has not been done before, maybe doing it differently, etc. But we have as you mentioned, Durab Tata sponsored the first Indian Olympics delegation in 1920.
Yes. Yeah? And Indian Olympic movement owes to Tata Steel. I mean, there is so much which I have researched in Lausanne myself. Yeah. It owes to Tata Steel. And so the question that you said, you're not exceptionally good at sport, you're exceptionally good at what you need to be. So that's something that we need to put on record. Having said that, when you are in the boardroom, have you used sporting lessons? Like in my case, when I face adversity, I kind of draw from sport. In your case?
Oh, I think there's a lot to learn from sports people. I mean, and sports persons in general. Even yesterday, I was talking to Kenny, and he was talking about how to deal with failures, for instance. I think sports people deal with this all the time. And, and sports people are under much more public scrutiny.
Yes.
I mean, my life as a corporate leader is much simpler than my life would have been if I was a captain of a team somewhere, because I just tell people, if you look at even if you take cricket as an example, if you look at the captains of the Indian cricket team, the kind of scrutiny they are under at a very young age by millions of people, by all their predecessors, by experts. And the criticism is out there, the analysis is out there. It's not just them, their families have to deal with it. So that kind of pressure when you're young and you're trying to make a mark for yourself, I think is incredible. And for them to deal with it and focus on the game, I think hats off to them. I tell people, if all my predecessors of Tata Steel were to sit and analyze all my decisions every evening on public television, I don't know how I would be able to run Tata Steel, right? So I think we need to respect that. And I think there are a lot of learnings for the boardroom: perseverance, hard work, discipline, the attitude to never give up. I recently came across a quote of Nelson Mandela, which, in fact, when I mentioned that to Kenny, he kind of talked about how it resonated with him. Nelson Mandela apparently said, I never lose, I either win or I learn.
Lovely.
So I think sports people look at it like that, right? So, I mean, if you lose, it's about, okay, take the learnings and move on. You cannot be expected to win 100% of the time. So I think there's so much for corporate leaders to learn from sports people.
Fascinating. And that brings me to my next question, actually. Ankita Bhagat was here at Tata Center. I was hosting that event. And one thing that struck me was, she said, look, with Tata Steel, even when I lose, there is no pressure on me. There is no pressure that go and win. Yes, we are under pressure. But if your main backer says there is no pressure, that makes our life so much more easier. That's something.
So we as an organization, I keep telling people, we invest in relationships. We look at ourselves as a relationship organization with our partners, with our employees, with our customers, with our distributors. So, I mean, I'm sure you know in Tata Steel, we have 5th and 6th generation employees. We have distributors who are third. I'm myself dealing with some of them who are third generation because I've spent 37 years in Tata Steel, right? I was just giving away the Long Service Awards for colleagues in Calcutta. And so many of them came and introduced themselves to me as sons and daughters of people I had worked with 30 years back, right? Suppliers, vendor partners. So we typically, I mean, of course, the expectation is that you build trust and then you invest in the relationship. So I think with Ankita and with many others, we see the talent, we see the potential, we know that they work hard. Success cannot come every time. And we support them because we believe in their potential and they don't fail us.
And the best part about someone like Ankita, for example, now that she won the Asian Archery Gold and all, I have covered her at her lowest when she shot that 4 in Paris. And then to see that she's learned from there and now winning the Asian Championship, beating the Korean gold medalist and the silver medalist, makes me very proud.
Absolutely.
And I told her that. I said, look, this is... And that's when, before even I said anything, she said, Tata Steel made it possible because मेरे पास तो वो bamboo वाला ये था. I said, क्या बोल रहे हो आप? He said, हाँ देखिए सर, मैं लेफ्टी हूँ. ये तो खरीदने का पैसा भी नहीं था मेरे पास. That made me very proud, sir. I mean,
absolutely. So Ankita, Deepika, we've had so many over the years. And Purnima, who's
the coach,
Dronacharya awarded coach, she's been again a wonderful person. So we have a whole ecosystem, which we've supported. We've had successes, we've had disappointments, but we've tried our best to give them the exposure. They need to do their bit. They need to work hard, and I think Ankita is a great example, like you said, of not letting that disappointment impact her, her drive and her perseverance.
So you deal with corporate leadership, and when you see a Commonwealth Games come to India, right? And India is going to bid for the Olympic Games. Targeted dialogue should start in 27. The Prime Minister is championing it. Sport a soft power. Your take on this? Do mega events? I mean, you support mega events, the marathons, our event, everything, small, big. Where do you stand on India wanting to host an Olympic Games, wanting to make a statement on soft power?
Sure. So to me, soft power is one objective, but to me the greater benefit or objective would be if it can help create a mass movement on sports, it can help build more sports infrastructure across the country. I think if those are the outcomes which come out of it, then that to me is more impactful than a one-off event where India is on the world stage. So to me, when people say we have 1.4 billion people, why don't we win so many more medals, etc., etc., it's largely because how many of that 1.4 billion have access?
Correct.
Right? How many kids have access to playgrounds? As you said, someone as talented as Ankita, if we hadn't found her, I don't know, we may never have found her, right? So I think there's so much talent out there who don't have the opportunity or the access. So, so sports infrastructure need not be a lot of money. It can be a playground, it can just be one football and 2 goalposts, it can be a basketball court, it can be, table tennis, paddle and ping pong balls and whatever. And I think if you create that across government schools, across, semi-urban, rural India, because the city still had some facilities, right? But if you go out there, but it's not that the talent is limited to the city, right? As cricket has shown in the last few decades, talent is not limited to the metros. Talent is there all over the place. Everywhere. Right? So I think, I hope events like the Commonwealth Games will help build more sports infrastructure across the country. I hope it will create greater and greater consciousness for sports amongst the youth. We have a demographic dividend which you keep talking about. One way to leverage that is to create more jobs and create more economic activity. But I think the demographic dividend can also be converted into sporting talent. And it also keeps people on the right path in some sense. Many other countries have shown
insurgency or sport in terror-ridden areas, countries.
Even in places like Brazil, they've kept kids off crime.
Correct.
Because of sports.
Even in our Northeast, in some places.
Is a great example, right? So I think if we are hosting something, we are hosting the Commonwealth Games and hopefully at some time the Olympics, it will all create opportunities for us to create a mass movement of sports and hopefully create more infrastructure and more role models, which will create more sports people.
Role models? Something that I'll remind you, women's cricket. Now the whole country is after women's cricket and everybody's become a hero and all of them have brands and all that. You will remember I called you in May and I said, the Indian women's team is going to the UK and I need support. And you said, do it. And I said, so this team has the potential. That's what it is. I mean, you championed the cause of women's cricket. Not many know. We were the only media house. At Lord's, there was a press conference, Pratika Rawal there and our people here. That's it. And we were saying there's an exclusive press conference going on. But the truth is, Tata Steel, once again, had that vision to back the women's game. Look where it is now. Plus, you mentioned this to me earlier in an interview. Women's empowerment stands at the core of Tata Steel thoughts.
Absolutely. Again, a part of society which is been under-resourced, under-supported, whatever. So when you said women's cricket, obviously it was easy for me to say yes, right? And of course you said they had the talent, but for me, they needed the support. We're doing a lot of work on improving the gender diversity in Tata Steel, and not just gender diversity, improving the diversity in Tata Steel. So while we're doing a lot of work on the gender side, also, as you may know, we're doing a lot of work with transgenders.
Yes.
In fact, recently we did have a sports tournament for transgenders in Jamshedpur. So again, we are part of society which has been ignored, discriminated against, not given respect, dignity. So we're giving them that. So I think it's a way for us to again reach out to parts of society who need more support than they've ever got.
Fantastic.
And so we have more than 100 transgenders now working in Tata Steel.
Fantastic.
Yeah, and we've advertised for jobs where we say only transgenders need to apply. So things like that. So, and they are, in Jharkhand, in the heart of Jharkhand, in our mining operations in Odisha. We've got a lot of support from our unions so that they get absorbed into the organization easily. And we've changed our policies to support them. So whether it's women, transgenders, differently able, whatever, I think anyone who needs support and, we think can fit into Tata Steel, we're happy to do that.
So last few, how do you measure success? And I'll tell you why. So for example, when I approach other corporates, the first question that I'm asked is, show me numbers. Mm-hmm. I'm used to it, that show me numbers. Now it is only obvious that numbers for cricket will far outstrip numbers for Paralympics. Because India will not consume in the same manner. I mean, a Sumit Antil is not known as a Virat Kohli. And it's only there, right? In your case, you kept backing us. And that's why I'm asking this. How do you measure success? Is it the process? Is it the effort? Is it the impact? Because clearly in my case, I see a disconnect with other corporates when I say, but look, this is Paralympics. They don't get it. In your case, I've always had that receptivity that this is different and you've got to back it to bring it to the level of cricket. Then you talk about numbers. Yes, numbers will come. When Navdeep Singh won and Markasam became a national story, and he calls me today and said, "Aapne to hero bana diya tha." I said, "Prime Minister Saab ne bhi Markasam bol diya." But so what is success for Mr. Narendran?
See, to me, success is about first deciding on the direction you want to move in, and then moving forward in that direction at a pace at which you set yourself for yourself, which is challenging enough, which pushes you. Success is not a destination. Okay, so to me, success, what is the direction? The direction is we want to support sports. We want to support sports which don't get much support. We want to support sections of society which don't get that support, right? So that to me is the direction. Now, what are the steps that we need to take to move in that direction? There are multiple steps, and one of the steps is what you're doing. So for me, success is about then backing people who are moving in that direction, helping us move in that direction, making sure that we are making an impact. What you said, the impact is there, and we need to have it's not about,
measure it.
It's not just about managing an event. It's about making sure that you make a lasting impact, and to make a lasting impact, you need to persevere. So I'm happy that the second year you called me, you didn't say I'm going to do something else, right? You continued on the direction that we felt was worth supporting and which you were passionate about and we were passionate about. Then you made progress, which is good. That to me is success, right? It's not I've reached here, so now I'm successful, because the definition of success will keep changing, right? What is important is to move forward in the direction that we want to move.
Fantastic. So last two. Sport in my case, when I look back, and I've asked you this question multiple times, I want to ask one more time. Sport has taught me how to face with adversity, challenges. When I encountered my personal adversity with cricket and the board and the ban and all of that, it allowed me that, because in my conscience I knew I'm true. It allowed me to fight it, allowed me to write the book, allowed me to lose, learn from that loss, make it back and come back where I am. So what is your lesson? I mean, when you kind of think of sport and you see people losing, In your domain, the corporate leaders, you must have lost
Absolutely.
many
Many
times.
times. Absolutely.
When we see you, we see the success of TV Narendran. But backstage, I'm sure you must have lost. Your thoughts, sir?
So again, like I said, sports tells you that there's no shortcut. I mean, we know so many stories of people who are very talented but did not do well,
Yes.
right? And there are many others who may have been less talented but worked harder, or could deal with failures better, or persevered longer, right? So to me, those are the lessons for all of us. I tell youngsters, again, exactly like you said, people think if I'm the CEO, then I've just had 35 years of success. I've had so many disappointments, so many failures. But like they say, again, to use a sports analogy, it's like they say in a boxing match, it's not over when you fall down, it's over when you don't get up. Right? So it's like that. So sports teaches you that. Sports also, if you play team sports, it teaches you teamwork. How do you subordinate your personal goals or agenda to what is good for the team? And how do you play together with others? How do you help others succeed through your game? You should also succeed, but others can also, particularly in football. So many times you don't score the goal, you're feeding the ball, right? So, or basketball, or any of these team sports,
Yeah,
right?
any.
So I think there's a lot of lessons, and for us as corporates, because oftentimes in corporates also you find it's competitive, particularly
Very ruthless.
ruthless. There's office politics, functions. Subordinating their agenda to, or rather subordinating the corporate's agenda to their agenda, So sports can teach us a lot of things. And that's why I always encourage people to take up some sport or the other. If not anything else, it'll teach you discipline, it will teach you mental strength, perseverance.
Which is hugely important.
Which is all hugely important. Yeah.
So last question. Global CEO and MD of Tata Steel, huge responsibility, one of the country's leading corporates. What is the legacy that you want to leave behind and turn back and say, no, this is what I'm proud of. This is something that I wanted to leave behind for, like I've said this to you. I've learned a lot. You inspire me. What is the legacy that you want to leave behind for many others?
See, for me, it's nothing about my personal legacy or me as an individual. To me, it's a privilege for me to have this opportunity to serve this company, which has been around for 120 years, a very important part of India's industrial history. So I've inherited a lot of legacy. I want to make sure I add to it in some sense and leave behind a stronger company for the next generation of people. So, it's less about me and what the institution does. Because honestly, even if I may be the CEO, what we do is not dependent on what I do. Everybody plays a role, right? They may, seek my direction or help or support or whatever. But ultimately, it's all of us.
Teamwork again.
It's a team. It's a team. So it would be unfair even if I say after I retired that this is what happened during my tenure. It's about all the people who worked with me, during this tenure, who played a big role. So I look at it from that point of view. Otherwise, you let, again, your personal ego override what is right for the company. So I'm less concerned about my legacy and more concerned about Tata Steel's future.
I will end there because this is where I kind of learn and take inspiration every day, because all of us are also an extended arm of Tata Steel, because the support that we get, we are also being given that support to try and make a difference in our own chosen domain. In our case, it's sport. Whether it's Tata Steel chess, whether it's the Tata Steel marathons, whether it's Trailblazers, whether it's whatever. So we are all part of the whole chain where India needs to be a better country and a better place and a better society. And that's what Mr. Narendran and Tata Steel are striving to do. Sir, always a pleasure.
Thanks, Boria.
Always a pleasure. Thank you very much.
Thank you for having me on this
Thanks.
interview. Thanks.